What's everyone? What's up everyone? Whoa, excuse me. What's up everyone? This is Frodan here with the StarCraft 2 Weekly. This is the first time we're going to be doing these casts. And again, it's going to be between NrGOstojiy as well as between ValiditySAGA. And it's going to be a PvZ on Scrap Station. This game has actually been really cool, as I was told. And lots of great things, despite the fact that many players don't like Scrap Station, especially because it's kind of old and outdated, and in particular because of this wide ramp you have over here. It's really hard to hold things like 4 gates as well as really early pool rushes. And you just require more to hold that ramp, so a lot of players don't like that ability that it's so easily rushed, and defender's advantage is pretty hard to hold. Also, another thing is that the main base is just very wide open and huge. If you look, it's a lot of places for those Zerglings with the early pool to run around, or those Stalkers, Zealots, Sentries to run around the base and basically disrupt the economy a lot and go for those one base pushes. Not to mention that there are early air options, considering that this path is pretty much a stone throws away from the opponent's base. As you can tell, NrGOstojiy in a minute into the game is almost at the base of Validity. And you're basically able to go for really fast Mutalisks if you're with that kind of ZVP style, or you can go for fast Phoenixes and for Void Rays, which is why for a long period of time Forge Fast expands were a huge reason why you would go to double Stargate and then Colossus. But looks like Validity gonna wall off with that pylon. You do need that pylon at the front to do a full wall off with 2 buildings. So for those who are not exactly familiar with how to wall off correctly, you want that pylon specifically on Scrap Station, because as the Cybernetics Core will go here and leave a little slight slot over there for your Zealot. Now Validity, of course, going to just open up pretty standard. NrGOstojiy going to be able to see all of this. Now this is a little bit of an older game. This is before 1.3 hit, before all those interesting buffs to the Infestor as well as the nerf to High Templar. So I'm interested to see if either of these two players actually use these strategies and units. But just keep that in mind as we engage into the game. 1.3, of course, increasing fungal DPS by twice the amount, as well as completely removing the Kadarian Amulet, so it was drastically affecting those late game measures. Now Validity, of course, going to get full scout. He's going to see pool with no gas and the expansion, so he knows that he can get things like Stalkers out onto the field very fast. At the same time, though, he's just going to focus on his wall. Now, I know Validity likes to go for a 3-gate expand type of build. He likes to go for also a very fast +1 with a Forge, so it would be interesting to see if he chooses to do that. At the same time, I'm not really familiar with NrGOstojiy, but I do know that he really likes macro-based game and Roach Hydra-based ZVP, as many Zergs do. NrGOstojiy, of course, featuring from the team NrG with other really great players like NrG Mihai, who used to be Abaxa, as well as some other upcoming players like NrG Cheese, who is from UCSD, which is the school I go to. So definitely keep an lookout for those team players on NrG, as other players like DDE and Vibe, I believe, are going to make huge splashes in the pro scene maybe in 2011. Now it looks like NrGOstojiy going to scout around to see if anything weird is going on, because a lot of times Protoss players want to abuse the fact that the natural is a little bit harder to defend on Scrap Station because it's a little bit farther away from the main base. But most of the time, I don't think Validity goes for those kinds of cannon play to destroy that natural expansion, so he's pretty safe for the most part. Meanwhile, Validity gonna rush up with that Zealot and Stalker, do a little bit of pressure. Again, that delayed speed really hurting NrGOstojiy at this point. But Validity, knowing what he can take, is just gonna run at this point. So it looks like he's just gonna lose, or he's not gonna lose any units. Meanwhile, it looks like one Zergling did go down for NrGOstojiy. And again, just pressuring him to make more units. Very great move here. At the same time, he is just gonna pull back and make a Nexus right now as soon as his Warp Gate finishes. Great, solid timings overall by Validity. Normally around now he would throw down a Forge and then go for that really fast +1, or he might go for a really fast Robotics, depends on the time of the second gas. Alright, so second gas goes down. Not really sure when he's going to throw up his next building. We'll go back and check later. Meanwhile, NrGOstojiy not doing anything too crazy. He is going for a lot of excessive gas, so it could mean that he wants to go directly to Roach, as normally if Zergs want to drone up really hard, they do want to go for low amounts of gas and then go for high amount of minerals so they can get up more queens, so they can get up, say if they want to even double expand based off the C3 gate. But here comes another mini engagement, and Sentry's trying to trap him. Zealot's deflecting the Zerglings away from those sentries. He wants to protect them with his life. And, ooh, it looks like the Zerglings are just dancing back and forth. And here comes a little of engagement over here, but no, it looks like Validity just pulls back. This one Stalker definitely, you definitely want a little bit more Stalker power as well with these kinds of pushes, because despite the fact that Zealots and Sentries are great against Zerglings, Stalkers will be able to catch those Zerglings that are dancing back and forth. And you don't want too many, though. Of course, you want some Zealots to be able to do, because they do some damage, because they are the main tank. But you want a little bit more Stalkers so they can do a push. Looks like a little bit of counter push here, but Validity too smart here with 2 Zealots and a Sentry. But here comes a mini engagement. NrGOstojiy, his forces are all the way across the map. This is actually huge. Oh, but Validity just turning around back. And I do believe NrGOstojiy does have him sandwiched if he really wanted to. Looks like this one Stalker, pretty much the misfit right here. He's asking he asked his mother when he was a young age, why couldn't I just be like the other Zealot Sentry? Here comes another engagement though. The Zealots and Sentries are trying to fight off those Zerglings, but they do get trapped a little bit. And Validity almost losing that Stalker. And using up a lot of early game Sentry energy. Nice job there, but at the same time, NrGOstojiy losing quite a number of Zealots, or sorry, a number of Zerglings. Oh man, imagine if you can make Zealots as, but oh, he catches a full energy Sentry. That is huge. And it's like NrGOstojiy going to be able to catch the other units, and Validity just going to be able to try to defend from this point. The Stalker running back to save its friends. Looks like 2 Zerglings will retreat at that point, but Validity, of course, losing a couple of Sentries early on, not what he wants to do. At the same time, looks like he is getting for that robotics, getting Immortals out, getting that forward, so a little bit later +1, maybe not so early as his usual style is. But NrGOstojiy just playing very, very well, going for that Hydralisk Den immediately, and being going for group spines upgrades and getting that +1 range. Of course, +1 range is just so critical for Hydras. Hydras are already super slow, so if you get that that range upgrade, it allows them to fire behind Roaches. Otherwise, their range is just pretty much 5, and that ties them with units like Marines. If you have them at 6, they tie range with Stalkers, and that's what you really want, especially if you engage with a huge Protoss gateway army. Now it looks like NrGOstojiy going to control both towers. Very good move here. He wants to get as much scouting information as possible. Looks like Validity just being very, very active around the map. But a bunch of Hydras are being made by NrGOstojiy, so Validity goes for a strong push. NrGOstojiy should be ready for it, and it looks like at this point NrGOstojiy is just going to spread a lot of creep. I like his creep spread. He has multiple tumors around, and when you get Hydras out, especially Hydraling, you want a ton of those Zerglings out. And it looks like at this point NrGOstojiy just going to mass up more Hydras. And ooh, an Observer out though, taking out a bunch of creep tumors. That will be really big. But a bunch of these Zealots are kind of weak, and it looks like the Hydras will be able to fend it off. Spine Cars from the front doing a lot of damage. It's like Queen's even coming down for battle, and Queens can transfuse a ton, keeping those Hydralisks alive, especially with low HP. Picking off a few Zealots here, so Validity kind of being indefensive, but nice force fields here to trap a bunch of the Hydralisks, and it looks like Guardian Shields will go down. The Immortal doing a ton of damage, 3 kills already, 4 kills on these Hydralisks. And NrGOstojiy losing a ton of these critical Hydralisks, not going to be able to use them in the later game. And you definitely want a huge number of Hydralisks. But NrGOstojiy actually placing his Spine Cars at the front of these destructible rocks. I think that's actually kind of a cool move there, because that will be a point in which, if any kind of counterattack goes down the middle, it will stall for some time. And looks like these destructible rocks will go down. Now, looks like NrGOstojiy still staying with Hydra laying for a little bit of time, although he is starting to get Roach speed, so that means Roaches will be on the field at the same time. Meanwhile, it looks like Validity going for a third here at his it's not even like a 3. It's not even at the 6 o'clock. It's kind of just like in the middle of the map. So it looks like to the right of the watchtower, looks like Validity is going to just take out that destructible rocks again to match NrGOstojiy. But NrGOstojiy spreading his feet really nice, even having an Overseer potentially to see any kind of weird shenanigans that might go on. And he might be able to snipe the Observer. And here comes the mini engagement again. Looks like Validity just going to push him back with a lot of Stalkers. He's really transitioned to a lot of Stalker Immortal. and he does have some sentries warping in, and plus 1 armor is not finished, so Validity wants to stall for time, especially since his Nexus is still warping in. Meanwhile, GOstojiy does have that gold up and running for a little bit of time. If you look at the income, it looks like both players are pretty high up with their economies, but at the same time, Validity actually has more drones, so great econ here by Validity. He is going for Templar Archives, which I really agree, because especially against Hydra Ling, if you can get some nice force fields, Storm is absolutely devastating against this composition. And of course, GOstojiy going to get roaches as well, which is super effective. Even getting a Spire, as late game Spire units are very, very good ZVP if you want to go for broods, or if you want to be able to get out a number of corruptors to deal with any kind of Protoss ball shenanigans, such as Void Rays or Colossi. Looks like Validity and GOstojiy having a little bit of a cold war here, not really willing to tag down this path, especially since if trapping those units with Zerglings is not an ideal place for GOstojiy, so he probably wants to be able to go for a different angle. Ooh, it looks like he might want to go for the third of Validity, and this is actually a great timing as a lot of things aren't finished warping in. A couple cannons. Looks like the Zerglings are rushing